Hey everybody, it's Andrew Tibbs. Welcome back to my horror. It's the new year, 2020. Well, technically it's, it is 2020, but it's now like the 7th, I think? The 12th. Crap, I am screwed. It's the 12th, and so I'm a little late to doing this, but better late than never. One of my favorite things to do when it comes closer to the end of the year, just because I don't have TV, so I don't see a lot of commercials for horror films that come out, aside from what I see on like a podcast that I listen to, or bloodydisgusting.com. And so at the end of the year, one thing I like to do is I like to find out about other horror films I haven't seen by looking at the top 10 lists for from other critics or cinephiles like myself, and just to see what's left, like what haven't I seen. And that's what I decided to do this year. I came up with a list of my top 10 movies for the year. One of them I'm a little confused about, because online it said it was released in Germany in 2017, but multiple sources I've looked at said it was released in the US in 2019. So, if it's released earlier, think of it as a movie I discovered this year, and it became one of my favorite movies of the year. So, and then I have a not in memoriam honorable mentions list as well. And so let's go ahead and get started. In number 10 message, I'm sorry, this is other stuff. Number 10 on my list is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I loved this movie. I liked how it made me feel like I wanted to go out and do some trick-or-treating. It's based in the fall, and it's like really, even when I read the books, it felt like it was very fall related. Like everything took place around Halloween. And I love this idea. It reminded me of Goosebumps, but for an older audience. Not rated R or anything, because to be honest, if they made this rated R, they're missing the whole purpose of what the books were. I read the books when I was in Utah. I think I mentioned in another video. And they weren't banned, but it was taboo to read these books in a way, just because of how creepy some of the illustrations were. And so it was a cool idea, because it took this lady, I don't think it mentioned, I forgot what her name was, but a tortured girl who, she's been tortured her whole life in one way or another, and she decided to take all of her sorrows and turn them into scary stories compiled in a book. A bunch of kids find the book, not unlike finding R.L. Stine's books in Goosebumps, and they read them and they find out that, their deaths and their disappearances are now showing up in story form inside that book. So it's really cool, and I would check it out. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Also produced by Del Toro, so it's got some gold to it. The next one, I don't know if this is controversial or not. And by the way, my movie selection doesn't mean that they're always well reviewed. Sometimes I just like them. So, next up on the list, Child's Play. I'm a big fan of the originals. I love, I can't even remember what the guy's name was. But the actor who did the voice for Chucky and all the old ones. I love him as an actor. I liked him in Exorcist 3. And I loved the whole voodoo aspect. So I'm a big fan of the original Child's Play franchise. I was initially skeptical going into this one, but I think they did something good in that they avoided all magic, all voodoo, all supernatural stuff. Really, all they did was made an evil doll. Some guy who was clearly depressed decided to make the doll evil as he was finishing it before killing himself. And so that doll, ends up in Andy's hands, and he's like a smart doll. Like, he controls the TV, the security systems, cars. It reminded me of a gorier version of Small Soldiers, that Joe Dante movie, if anyone's ever seen it. But I really liked it, and it was funnier than the original Child Play franchise, and Mark Hamill does the voice of Chucky. So you can't really beat that. I freaking love Mark Hamill. I respect the guy a lot. So, Child's Play, number 9. Number 8. I loved the first one. I thought it was a huge spin on the slasher franchise, or the slasher genre. And when I saw the sequel, I thought it took the bonkers level and turned it up to 11. Happy Deathday 2. I saw this with my friend Seth, and I think he fell asleep doing it. But this is the whole story of this lady who keeps waking up the same day over and over again, getting killed by the same person, and it's basically going to keep going until she solves the murder or she stops the cycle. This one takes the idea, but instead turns it into dimensions. So she's balancing between two different dimensions, recycling the same day over and over again, only this time she has to choose on whether she's going to stay in the new one or go back to the original. So funny. And there is a scene, I apologize in advance, but there is a scene that's very Groundhog's Day-ish, where there's that part of the movie where Bill Murray kills himself over and over again, and she does the same thing in this, just so she can avoid getting killed by the killer. She does hilarious things, like jumps out of a plane in a bikini and then lands right in front of the guy who she wanted to make jealous. And so I thought it was genius, and I had a blast watching it. Awesome movie. Also one of the most rewatchable movies I've seen in recent memory. So, cool. The next one. This is the one that I was confused about, because it says 2017, but most sources I see said 19. But this is a German folk horror film called Haggis Oosa. I think that's how you say it. Sorry, Germans. But this movie was freaking amazing. I knew I would like it when, because I had previously watched The Witch, that Robert Eggers movie that, was really good a few years ago. And I heard people compare this to The Witch, and it is comparable. It's about this lady who, she's an outcast. It's based up in the Alps, and she's an outcast from this German village. They all think she's a witch. And what I love about this movie is it's full of, hallucinating looking imagery, and you don't actually know whether or not she's a witch, but it doesn't change the fact that what she's going through because of her isolation and her psychosis is a horror story in and of itself. And it reminds me of a Sofia Coppola movie where it's very A to B story, very slow burn, and to be honest, the whole movie is a slow burn even at the end. I wouldn't watch it over and over again for sure. But the first time I watched it, I was just so mesmerized because every shot was beautiful. Kind of like Nosferatu, the 1979 version. So really good. Haggis Oosa. I feel like I need to say it in a German accent so I don't butcher it too bad. This next one. What number is that? Nah, I forgot. The next one on my list is Dr. Sleep. Sorry, I don't have the movies yet, so I have to do this. Maybe if I learn how to do a video appropriately, I'll put an image on the side. But Dr. Sleep. I have been looking forward to this movie for a long time. I wondered how they were going to balance, because people love Stephen King, but when it comes to the Shining story, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, it's indebatable. That movie is a classic. People love Stephen King, but they'll love Stanley Kubrick's The Shining the most. It's like having two parents. You can't choose. You just have you love them both. And this has been a very difficult task. I think it's Mike Flanagan, the creator of Hill House, the Haunting at Hill House series. He was able to balance the stuff from Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, like Room 237 instead of 217, and with the story from Dr. Sleep, which is the sequel to the book that Stephen King wrote. Somehow, he was able to bridge the two worlds and make it work. And it was beautiful to look at. So many cool images. And the thing I liked the most, I can't recall a single jump scare in that entire movie. There was a lot of slow burn stuff. But for instance, here when eventually Danny goes back to the Overlook Hotel. And when he goes in, everyone in the theater is expecting jumps. The twins are going to pop out, or the weird guy doing sex stuff with the dog face. But there was none of that. He walks in, and because of his presence, lights start to slowly turn on. You start to hear the furnace go. And some of the dust starts disappearing from the ground. The house is waking up, and oh man, it was just... it was chilling. It was chilling, and it wasn't pure nostalgia for the original Shining either. Like actually, really, all that stuff happens in the last few minutes of the movie. The movie carries itself well, and the fact that people didn't see it more when it came out is extremely sad and extremely disappointing, because this really is one of the better horror films, really, of the decade, not just of the year. So, I mean, I'm just being blunt honest with you. So that was Dr. Sleep. Now, the next one, I loved Us. You can watch the video I did on this movie after this if you'd like. So I'm not going to talk too much into it, but Get Out was an amazing movie. And, you know, you're always afraid of the sophomore effort from some of these directors. Jordan Peele, man, the guy is a master. Him, Robert Eggers, and Ari Aster are horror gods of of the new generation or whatever. And I can't wait to see what else he brings out, because this movie was amazing. And what Lupita does with her voice, creepy. Like, it makes my voice hurt just thinking about it. So, Us, really good. Next one. I watched this yesterday, so I actually had to adjust my list a little bit. Speaking of sophomore efforts, Lighthouse by Robert Eggers. I was skeptical about this one. It's shot in like a full screen format, so just the box, and it's in black and white. And, you know, I don't know. It's one of those movies I got nervous about because everyone kept saying how good it is. And, which, it's fine. And I love it when people say a horror movie's good. It makes me want to see it more. But when all you hear is how good it is, and when it's like number one on people's top 10 lists, to me that makes it like almost like scary to go see, because I'm like, what if it's not good or doesn't live up to it? It's very good. It is a very good horror film. It is hard to get into, for me at least. At the beginning of the movie, there's a little bit of a slow burn, but you have to get to know the characters. You have to get to know Robert Pattinson and William Dafoe. But by the end, holy crap. Like, for instance, here's the thing. It's like a Twilight Zone episode to me. Because you have William Dafoe, who, you know, eventually these guys are going to get picked up from the Lighthouse rock that they're living on. You know, there comes a point where, you know, you can see them starting to break, basically. They're sick and tired of each other's company, and they want to get off. And William Dafoe says, ever since they thought the boat might have come and they missed it, it's only been a couple days. Or, no, it's been several weeks. And Robert Eggers thinks it's only been a couple days. And so their time is twisted, because is it him? Is it William Dafoe being a senile old man? Or is it Robert Pattinson being a heavy drunk? And so you don't know what's real or how it happens. You just know that things end crappy for these two guys. So check out The Lighthouse. Really good. I think you can get it on, well, I bought mine on Vudu, so you can do that. Next one. Number 3. Okay, now I know where we're at number-wise. Number 3, It Chapter 2. Again, some of these movies are movies that if you're watching other people's top 10 lists, this is not going to be one that usually shows up. And I don't care. It does have some pacing issues. And it does, compared to the first one, you know, it does kind of jump around a lot. Like they're trying to shove a lot of stuff in. With that being said, rewatch value-wise, when I watched the first one, I have to really, like, I feel like I have to get super emotionally invested into it, which is to its credit. I mean, it's a good movie, and you care about the characters. But this one, it has a lot of really good scares. I love the actors they got to play the different kids, especially Richie and Eddie. Like, those kids killed it. And then, what's the other thing I really like? I liked how they handled the end of the movie. If you've seen the 1990 version with the stupid spider clay monster, I mean, even Tim Curry didn't like that. I wondered how they were going to tackle that without it being stupid. And although it wasn't super scary, the fact that they had him be the spider monster in the end with better special effects this time around, of course, but they kept the Pennywise head. I'm like, oh, that is a cool imagery. Like, I thought to myself, I either want to paint that or get a massive Funko Pop of the spider Pennywise. And so I really liked this new movie, and I saw it in the theater. I just enjoyed it. Better rewatch value, in my opinion. It may not be popular, but who cares? It's my video. Next, we're number 2 on the list, second favorite horror film of the year. This franchise, created by James Wan, has had some good ups and some awful downs. And so this to me is one of the ups. Annabelle Comes Home. I remember seeing the first Annabelle. Did not like the first Annabelle. It had some cool parts in it that I thought gave it some credit, but by itself it wasn't a great movie. Annabelle Creation came out. Holy crap, this guy knows how to make a scary film. The little footsteps around the house at night, little Annabelle face off in the corner, relies more on building up scares as opposed to jump scares. It did great. This took the same idea, footsteps around the house, creepy stuff in the corner. There's something going on in your peripheral vision the entire movie. Only what I like about this one, kind of like the movie The Gate, or, other monster movies you've seen, it has, several different monsters. I don't know if this is them trying to set up more Conjuring movies to make the universe, but every monster they introduced in this movie was crazy good. There's a werewolf, there's a crazy bride with a butcher knife who seems to be running after you and screaming all the time. And there's this, I can't remember what the name was, but it's someone who, they have the quarters in the eyes and they escort the dead. It is really, I loved it. And the acting is great from all involved. So Annabelle, I almost said Creation. Annabelle Comes Home, go check it out. Now, my favorite movie of the year, favorite horror film of the year. When I watched this, it was an absolute treat. My wife, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but my wife is from a very Swedish family. They celebrate Swedish activities all the time, and I actually got to participate in this, not a festival, but this celebration during the summer. And of course, I'm talking about Midsummer. Favorite movie of the year. It, echoes some of the stuff that you would have seen in Wicker Man. The original, not the Nicolas Cage one. And, oh my gosh, I'm telling you, it's crazy. It starts off heavy from the get-go. Her sister ends up doing a murder-suicide with her parents, and so she's distraught. She has a boyfriend who's the biggest pile of trash you've ever seen. And she just kind of tags along with him, not really wanting her to come along, but she does anyways. Goes to Sweden to investigate or just be with the Swedish cult as they go throughout their festivities. Little does she know, those festivities are going to require a lot more participation from her and her friends than they thought previous. And so, amazing movie. I saw it with my friend Ben Priest in the theater, and he's really big into anthropology. And so when the movie ended, we didn't look at each other for a bit. We just kind of stared at the screen. And then we looked at each other and we're like, what the crap just happened? This movie was amazing. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Best movie of the year so far. And despite its long run time, I still find it very rewatchable. And every scene with all the flowers, you can kind of tell. The flowers, the costume, the buildings, gorgeous. Gorgeous. And so, check out Midsummer. This video's a little long, I apologize, but honorable mentions. The crappy La Lorna. It's crappy, but I liked it because the ghost looks cool. And so, there are some jump scares in it, so I appreciate a movie for what it is. I would have preferred it to not have as many jump scares, but you can't win them all. Next. Not technically a horror film, but The Joker. Loved it a lot. Hold on. Sorry, I thought that was good. Good movie, great acting. Can't go wrong with that one. This one was a lot of fun. Definitely had some flaws in it, but when Nick Frost and Simon Pegg got together, who gives a crap? And Michael Sheen as well. A bunch of preppy kids at a uppity school getting attacked by alien monsters. Yeah. And And then last honorable mention I'll do is Saint Agatha. This is also a really good movie. To be honest, it's the Nun movie I wish we had before. Even though I liked the Nun and I met the actress and she's amazing. This lady, pregnant woman, goes into is it a nunnery? I don't freaking know. She goes into this nun place where all these nuns are to have them help her with the baby, and it turns out they're a lot more sadistic than she thought. And it's not an anti-Catholic movie either, for those of you who are Catholic, because technically they mention early on in the church that they have been excommunicated, or their establishment is not sanctioned by the church anymore. So these crazy nuns are just freestyling it, and they should not be. So those are my movies of the year. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Sorry about the length, but go watch more horror films. Bye.